Hi everyone, it's Chloe from Chloe's Creative Cards, and I'm really excited today to be showing you this fabulous project using our brand new stamp and die collections. To make this project we'll be using our beautiful new Rose Mallow stamp and die, our Happy Birthday stamp and die set, the Spring Foliage stamp, the Flower Burst background stamp, and our gorgeous watercolour paper pad, which I just know you are all going to love. So these are the products that we're going to be using. This is the lovely Happy Birthday stamp and die set. So you can see you've got the different dies and the stamp in there, which is gorgeous. We're also going to be using this fabulous Rose Mallow design stamp and die to create those beautiful flowers on the project, and I'm going to show you exactly how to shape those. To create the background, we're going to use our beautiful Flower Burst background stamp, and this is gorgeous. It's a big DL stamp, but it is great because you can line it up to create a fully repeating pattern as well. So that design is absolutely gorgeous. I think that's going to be an essential for any crafter in the craft box. We're also going to be using some of our beautiful watercolour papers. These are a completely smooth paper, so they're perfect for stamping on, but they have that watercoloured effect, which is just absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to dive in and get started. We're going to do a little bit of matting and layering to start with the papers, just to show you how this card comes together. So I've got an 8x8 card base here. Again, if you want to know any of the materials that I'm using, I'm going to link them all in the description below, and then you can see them all on the website there. So this paper that I'm using is from our gorgeous watercolour paper pad, which is just absolutely delicious. It is such a lovely paper pad. You can see all the papers are double-sided as well, so they are going to work perfectly for all of your projects. So to start with, I'm just taking a little bit of PVA glue and I'm just sticking this down onto my card blank, like so. I'm making sure I get glue right in the corners there too. And we're going to place that down and just stick that into place like so. Okay. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to just go around the edge of this paper using my dry clear glue with the fine tip applicator, and we're just going to add a little glittery border around the edge. So to do that, I'm taking my glue and I'm just buttoning it up to the edge of the paper and dragging that glue towards me like so. So then you can see how that gives you a nice straight edge down the side of your card. I'm going to take in some scrap paper and I'm going to use one of our beautiful Sparklicious glitters. The colour that I'm using is Bubble Bath, and you can see how it's like a pinky lilac colour. So it's going to go really nicely with these papers. We're just going to sprinkle that down the side, and then you can see where that glitter has clung. So we'll just put that to one side out the way there. We're going to do exactly the same along the bottom, just dragging our glue on the bottom of the paper just to get that nice line. If you go a little bit off the line, don't worry too much, you can always go back in and fill it in. I'm going to do exactly the same up the other side. And because these glitters are quite chunky, if you don't get a perfectly straight line, don't worry about it at all. It's just going to add to the finished effect. It'll still look equally as beautiful. Okay, so you can see how we've got our little glittery border going on there. I'm going to pour that back into the jar, and then we're just going to put our line across the top there too. I'll put my pin back into the top of my glue there too. Okay, so you can see how we've got that lovely little glittery frame going around the edge of the card. Now for the next part, what I've done already, I'm just going to put that to one side. I'll just give my workbench a little dust to get rid of the glitter there. Is I've taken a piece of white card and I've taken another one of those beautiful pattern papers, and basically what I've done is cut a hole in the middle of it. So this is going to create like the little aperture in our card, like you can see here. Okay, but what I tend to do is, because we need to cut an aperture in the white card as well, I always cut the one in my patterned paper first, and then I take a slightly smaller die and pop that into position on my white layer. So you can see there how that's going to start and build up the dimension. So then I'm going to take my removable tape and just tape this die into place. So we'll just make sure that we've got that nice and square. I'm not sticking it down or anything yet. I'm just literally wanting to get this die into the right position, which to me looks to be about there. Then we're just going to tape that down into place. Like so. I'm going to just remove a little bit of the corners of that removable tape, just so it doesn't leave too much of a sticky residue on my card. Just take those off. There we go. And I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. Now, because this piece of card is quite large, I'm using my A4 Gemini to die cut this out. So we'll just quickly run this through the machine. And then we'll just grab that at the other side when it's finished. Okay, so when we take that away, you can then see you've just got that circle cut in the middle of your card. I do believe that die that I'm using might be a tonic one, but again, any die, any circle die at all is going to work fine for this technique. Okay, so we're going to pop that to one side. I'm going to bring in this lovely patterned piece again, and we're going to start and stamp a background onto it. So you can see how I've left like quite a large gap here. This is where I'm going to arrange my flowers on the corner. But we're going to stamp this background just to add a little bit of interest to it. So I'm going to use that beautiful flower burst background stamp, which you can see is a really nice large size image. It's about DL in size, so it's a lovely, lovely large stamp design. Okay, so what we're going to do is just dust over our card with an anti-static bag, our paper, sorry, with the anti-static bag. Then we're going to pop that to one side. We're going to bring our stamp in and we're going to ink it up. So I'm going to use the Wow Clear Embossing Ink Pad, which is the one that I use all the time for embossing. It is a brilliant ink pad. It's really nice and sticky, so it's going to grab and hold that embossing powder. I'm going to take the lid off there and just start to ink our stamp up. Now this is quite a large stamp, so you want to make sure that you've got plenty of ink on there. So as you can see, I'm just working around with my ink pad, inking up my stamp like so. Making sure we've got plenty of ink on there. There's a little bit of glitter, surprisingly, on there. So we'll just peel that off. Okay, so this is the first part of the stamp. So we're going to stamp this one down. So I'm stamping ever so slightly off the page as well. I'm going to position this down and press. Again, I'm only really pressing where it's kind of very much on my paper. And then we're going to lift that off. And you can very faintly see there how we've got that lovely, lovely image. I'm going to grab in my scrap paper again. And we're going to cover this with some plain white embossing powder. So I'm using the Wow powder in opaque, bright white, super fine. So we're going to just sprinkle that over. Then we're going to tap off the excess. I'm going to put that back into the jar. Just missed the jar a little bit there. We'll just sweep that off the mash. Okay, and we're going to heat this up now. So to heat this up, we're going to use our heat gun. You can see how I've got a little thumbprint just on the side there of my card. So I'm going to just go in. I'm going to use a paintbrush just to take that out. And then we're going to heat this up using our heat gun. So again, we're just going to hold that heat gun still, and as soon as we see that powder melt and change, we're just going to move the heat gun over the image. And you can see this is such a beautiful stamp. It's got so much detail in it. It is really, really pretty. So we're just going to work our way over the image like so. Heating it all up really well, making sure that powder's nicely heated. Okay, so when we turn that round, you can see how we've then started to get that pattern onto the card. So we're going to continue lining this up now. So I'm going back in with my anti-static bag, giving my paper a good dust. And then we're going to take our stamp, we're going to re-ink it up, so lots of tapping all over the image, and then we're going to just place this down to line it up. Do tend to find it easier stamping this way as well, personally, kind of stamping landscapes. What I'm doing is looking at those dots, roughly lining them up so that they're adjoining, and then we're just going to position down and press. So again, you want firm even pressure all over the stamp, especially obviously in the areas on your paper. I won't be worried too much about that part in the middle because it's just going to stamp onto your scrap paper or onto your mat. Just grabbing our scrap paper again, and give that another cover with the opaque bright white embossing powder, and you can see how that pattern is seamlessly joined up. Okay, we're going to quickly heat that up again, so that powder's gone straight back into the jar. So to heat this up, all we're doing is holding that heat gun still and starting to move the heat gun over the image. I've just picked it up a little bit just so that I can see when it turns. But you'll see it'll go from like a dual creamy grey colour to a beautiful bright white. Embossing. Okay, so you can see how we've started to build that background up there now. We're going to just stamp this final little strip just down the side. So again, I've gone in with my anti-static. I'm taking my clear stamp and we're going to ink this up again. So we'll just re-ink the stamp. So lots of tapping all over the image. Like so. Okay, and then we're going to place this down onto our card again. So we'll just line this up. Again, I do find it easier. I always go to stamp that way, but I do find it easier stamping this way. So all I'm doing is looking for those little dots, okay, and I'm just leaning in to get that pattern nicely joined up. So that looks about right to me there. Just going to stamp this small section like so, and then we'll go in with our embossing powder and just heat this little piece up. Okay, so we're going to put this back into the jar. And then we'll just heat this little section of embossing powder up. Have a look at this side here. So again, I'm holding that heat gun still, and as soon as I see that powder start to melt and change, I'm just moving the heat gun over the image like so. Then you can see how we've got that beautiful starry background all built up. Now what I then did with this layer is I'm going to stick it onto my white matting layer here, so you can see that there. So we're going to stick those two together now. So again, it's completely personal preference what you want to use for your matting and layering. You can use glue, you can use like your Collal all-purpose glue, or if you like to use double-sided tape, of course you can do as well. I tend to just use this Art Glitter Dries Clear PVA. I do tend to make sure that the metal tips on the end, then you don't tend to put too much glue onto your project, because if you get too much glue on, it can make your papers start to kind of ripple, and we don't want that. Okay, so we're going to position this down on top of our circle, so we've got a nice even frame all the way around the edge, and because you're using a wet glue as well, it gives you that little bit of time just to manoeuvre it. So I'm going to pull that up just a fraction. Looks about right there to me. So then we've got that nice circular frame, and we've got our white frame going around the edge as well, like so. Just need a little bit more glue underneath this part here just to get that to stick down. So there we go. You can see how that then starts to come really nicely together. Okay then, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my dry as clear glue again, and I'm going to go around the inner edge of this circle of the patterned paper. Again, if you go a little bit off the line, don't worry about it at all. But we can just work our way around like so. Adding in our glue. Now I'm just being a little bit careful not to kind of smudge the glue I've already put on here. You can just see how I've worked around the edge there. So what I'm now going to do is take in my scrap paper again, and we're going to take in that glitter, the bubble bath one. I'm going to sprinkle that over the top like so. And you can see how that just adds a glittery border to your frame there. What we're then going to do is we're going to take a chisel tip glue pen, and we're going to go in with some Crystallina glitter. So we're going to take our glue pen. So this is the Zig two-way glue pen. This is fabulous for doing the edges down the sides of your cards. So then you can just go in with your glue pen, drag it along each of the straight edges. Like so. So basically we're going to have a lovely glittery border all the way around the edge as well. So then we're going to take our Crystallina glitter. So this is like a white see-through glitter, and this is again from the Sparklicious range. And we're just going to cover those outer edges with the glitter. Like so. So you can see how that then starts to come together and gives you that lovely little glittery border. Okay, what we're then going to do is we're going to flip this over, and I'm going to very carefully put some foam pads onto the back, ready to get this stuck onto our card blank. So I'm just going to work my way around, adding my foam pads. I will probably put quite a few foam pads on here, to be honest, just to make sure that my card doesn't sink and to make sure it's nice and balanced. So just add these in here. I'm going to cut some foam pads into little triangles and just cutting them in half. And then these can just go around the frame, like so. So we can just add these in. And this is just going to add that little bit of support just around the frame there. Okay, and then we're going to take the backs off of these. And then we're going to place this down onto our card blank. So just get our card open in the right way. So this is then going to go down onto here, like so. Just get that position down. But you can see then how that started to come together, and you can see that is the basis of our card. Okay, I've actually stuck that on the wrong way, so I'm going to just quickly take that off and just quickly move it round so it's the right way on my card blank. Okay, so we'll pop that onto there like so. So that is our basic card. So I'm going to show you how to create this lovely happy birthday for the centre next. So to do that, I'm using our fabulous happy birthday die, and I'm going to be using the outer frame and the detail die. We're going to take the circle that we cut out from the middle of the patterned paper, and we're going to pop our die in the middle of there. So I'll grab a little bit of removable tape just to hold that in place. And then I've also got a piece of white card that we're going to just die cut a plain happy birthday from. Okay, so we're going to die cut these and then layer them together. So again, I've just got my Gemini machine set up behind me. So I'm just going to use this machine to run my dies through. So just grabbing my correct plate, so just need my magnetic shim. And then we are good to go. So we'll quickly run this through the machine. So we're going to just pop these onto our plate. So you'd use whatever plate is correct for your die cutting machine for your sandwich. And then we can just run those through. And when they're out the other side, we'll just grab those lovely die cuts. Remove those from the machine. So that is my happy birthday that's cut out in the white, and I'm just removing the one that I cut out from the beautiful watercolour paper pad. I'm just removing that one from the die. So I'm just going to grab a pokey tool in just to push this through. But look at the detail that we've got in this happy birthday die. It is so fine. It is absolutely beautiful. So we're going to stick that into place on top of the other die cut. To do this, I just tend to use a chisel tip glue pen. So just go in, and while the glue's still wet, it's still blue, sorry, it's going to make it a permanent bond. So you can just go in, add in your glue pen. Back of there, and then we're going to pick that up and we're going to pop this down onto our lovely white mat that we've cut perfectly for the happy birthday. So that will then just stick in place. Seeing that I've got a little bit of glue all over my fingers now. Just pop a little bit more on this Y. Just going to flip that round and just add a little bit of glue onto there. Like so. Okay, but you can see how this all starts to just come together. Any little areas that you've missed with glue, of course, you can just go back in and add to as well. I'm going to just place that under some card and give it a press to make sure that's all nicely stuck. But you can see then how we've got that lovely happy birthday all in place. That's going to go into the middle of our card here, and we're going to stick that on with some foam pads. So I'll just add a couple of those in to the background. So we'll just take our foam pads and just place these down. I'll just put a few on just to show you, but obviously at home you could spend a little bit more time popping a few more foam pads on there. So we'll put that there. Just going to layer this up like so, and that's going to go into the middle of our card there. So you can see how that's all nicely starting to come together now. So just move these out of the way. So I'm going to show you how to create these beautiful flowers now. So we're going to be using some of the papers from the watercolour wash paper pad to stamp and emboss our flowers onto. So I'll just grab that sheet in. Okay, so you can take any of the patterns within that paper pad. They're all equally as beautiful and are all going to work perfectly for this project. So I'm taking my anti-static bag, dusting that over my paper and card, my paper, sorry, and I'm going to take my stamps. Now with these stamps, you can see how they've all got a little notch of extra polymer at the top on each of them. Okay, what that's for is it's for when you come to die cut them, your dies have then got a little notch taken out of them. So when you line your stamps and dies up, I've got my die here actually, I was just looking for that on my desk. So just grab that in. You see how it's got the little bit of metal removed at the top. So once you've got those stamped and you want to line up your die cut, if you line up the notches, you'll see that you'll get the perfect stamped and die cut image every time. This little notch doesn't transfer onto your paper, it's literally just on the background of the polymer. So what I would do is just put a little arrow pointing upwards as to which way the notch is. But if you check out the channel, there is a full video explaining this. So what I'm going to do now is take my clear embossing ink pad again. So this is the Wow Ultra Slow Drying Clear Embossing Ink Pad. We're going to ink up our stamps. So lots of tapping all over the image. Okay, and then we're going to place this down and press. And what's so lovely about clear stamps is you can really kind of decide on patterned papers where you want to stamp them and what elements of the pattern you want on your design. So I'm going to stamp these down like so. And lift that off, and then we're going to take some diamond white Wow powder. So this is a lovely sparkly holographic white. It is a beautiful colour. I'm going to sprinkle that over like so, tap off the excess. Then once we've got all of those flowers heated up, okay, I'm going to grab in the ones that I've already done and heated. Okay, so I've got these all cut out, ready to go. So I've stamped 4 large ones. I've then stamped 4 medium ones, and I've stamped 8 of the small ones. Okay, so they are all ready to go now. So what we're going to do is take a pair of tweezers. We're going to place the tweezers down the centre of the petal, then twist the flowers away from you. Okay, so we're just working round, building up these flowers. So you can see how that then adds a little bit of shape to them. So we're going to do this on all of the flowers. We're just going to build these up like so, putting that little twist in to each petal. As we build these up. So you can see how perfectly this is working. We'll do exactly the same on all of these flowers, just to add that little bit of shape to them. You can see, because the papers are double-sided as well, it's really pretty because you get a little bit of the underside shown too. So what we're going to do is start to stick these together. So to layer your flowers together, you're going to stick 4, and we're just going to rotate them each time. So a little bit of glue in the middle. Again, that Dries Clear PVA glue is perfect for this. So we're going to put that one there. Another blob of glue. Then we're going to use another one here. Just layering these flowers up. So layering them all together like so. And then we're going to put the final one in the middle. And to do that, I tend to scrunch it so it's like a little bulb shape. And then I just position that down and press. Okay, so that's our first flower all made up. I'm going to pop that to one side because once it's dry you can flatten it out a little bit just to give it a little bit more shape there. Okay, so we're going to continue on doing this with all of the flowers. So again, tweezers down the middle and just give them a little twist, and that's going to give the flowers a lovely, lovely shape to them. So you can see how we're just working around, twisting those petals, making this oh so easy to do. Exactly the same on the next one, just working our way around, tweezers down the centre and putting that little twist in there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is layer these together. So again, a blob of glue in the middle, and then just twist and offset them all ever so slightly as you start to layer these up. This one's going to go under here. I'm just layering these together like so, but you can see how easy this is to do. And then again, for that fourth layer, we're going to pull it up into like a little bud pop some glue on the back, and then we're going to position that down into the middle of the flower like so. Just needs a few more seconds just to grab. If you've got like an embossing tool or anything like that, that comes in quite handy just for giving your flowers a little squish to make sure the glue's sticking there. But then you can see that's your next flower done. So we're going to do exactly the same to create the small one. So popping the tweezers down the middle and just popping a little twist into the petals like so. If you tear the petals slightly at the base, I wouldn't worry about it too much, to be honest. You can generally kind of get away with that when you start to layer them up. So it's literally tweezers down the middle, hold the petal and just twist your tweezers away from you. Once you've done 4, you've got enough to make a flower. So then we'll just layer those together. It's going on to there. Another one. You can see how you can just layer all these together and how well these then work. Pop that one on there. So again, just layering all these flowers together. Then we're going to do one more. So again, pull all those petals up towards you. Place that down in the centre like so, and then give that a little squish. And you can see again how well that flower's nicely shaped. Pop that to one side, and we'll make up our final flower now. So we're just going to twist our little flowers like so to build these up. So we can just work around shaping these petals like so. Okay, so we're going to layer these flowers together now. So we're going to pop the base one down first, then we're going to place this down and press. So again, we're just layering all of these petals nicely together. And then the next one here. Layering that one down, and then the next one here. So you can see how this is just all layering ever so nicely up together. Then we're going to add a little, just squish that down in the centre there. You can see how that's created that lovely flower. Now what I've already gone ahead and done is I've taken some little jewels and I've just covered them with some PVA glue and then sprinkled them with that fabulous bubble bath glitter. And I'm going to just stick one of these into the centre of each of the flowers. So that then creates like a little blingy middle just for your flowers like so. That down, and then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go in with my dry clear PVA and I'm just going to add little dots just around the centre of the flower like so. And this is when this ultra fine metal tip really comes into its own, because you can see how you can get into all the detail there. So I'm grabbing my scrap paper, and again we're just going to sprinkle that with the bubble bath glitter. Then when we tap off that excess, you can see how you've got the little glittery dots in the middle of the flower. So I'm going to do this on all of the flowers, so we'll just work around popping these little dots in the centre. Again, I'm not being too kind of precious or too careful, I'm just randomly dotting. Okay, so you can see that one there. we'll just continue popping these little dots into the middle, sprinkling with the glitter, and then layering the flowers up like so. Okay, so I'm going to put this glitter back into the jar again. Okay, and then we are going to take some heat resistant acetate and do some foliage to go behind. So you were going to need 3 branches stamped and embossed onto your heat resistant acetate. I'm just going to do one just to show you how to do it, just for time, and I have got them already pre-done. Okay, so you're going to take your sheet of heat resistant acetate. It is really important that your acetate is heat resistant, because otherwise if it's not, when you put your heat gun on it, it's just going to melt. So I'm going to give it a really good dust with an anti-static bag to start with, and then I'm going to take in my stamp. So this is from the lovely Spring Foliage stamp collection, and this is the little leaf spray. Move that up a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Then I'm taking my clear embossing ink pad again, and I'm going to ink up the foliage. So again, lots of tapping all over the image. And then we're going to place that down onto our card, onto our acetate, sorry, and press. You want to keep one hand on the stamp at all times and use the other hand to press round. Then you're going to lift that off. We're going to take our scrap paper again, and we're going to take our diamond white embossing glitter. We're going to sprinkle this over and tap off the excess, and you can see how beautifully those leaves have stamped there. We're going to just heat this up now. So to heat this up, I just use my heat gun. Again, hold your heat gun still. If you hold your acetate in the air, you tend to find that it'll heat that a little bit quicker. So then you can just work around with your heat gun, like so, heating up the leaves. Then we're going to just take our scissors, and when you come to cut this out, literally all you're going to do is cut this out really roughly. So you're just going to go in with your scissors and work your way around. Like so. You don't have to be too careful, you can be quite rough about how you cut these out. Okay, and that's your foliage ready to go in behind your flowers. So I think we're about ready to start and assemble our card now. So we'll bring back in our lovely card base. Okay, and we are going to bring in our 3D glue gel as well, because we're going to use this to stick the flowers on and also to tuck the foliage in behind the flowers. So we're going to start with our largest flower, and we're going to stick this about there. We're going to take our medium one next. I'm going to just stick that in next to it and see how that's starting to come together there. Then we're going to take the smaller one and pop that one up there. Take the other small one and pop that one down there. Okay, so you can see how that's starting to come together now. We're going to take in some of our foliage. So I'm going to take 2 pieces. I'm going to put one at this end and one at the top. I'm going to just grab my scissors. I'm going to just trim the end off that foliage so I can get it in a little bit closer. Bit of glue gel on the back, and then just tuck that in behind. Exactly the same at the top here as well. And just tuck that in behind. So you can see how the foliage is starting to pull the card together now. Then we're going to take another piece of the foliage, but we're going to cut into it this time. So I'm going to cut off those little top leaves there and leave those leaves showing. Okay, I'm going to tuck this piece in behind here. It's going to go in behind the flowers, the bottom, like so. Then this extra little piece here, I'm going to tuck in behind the flowers here. Okay, so you can see how that's starting to come together now. What I've also got is I've got some little white flower shaped sequins, which again, I'm sure lots of you are like me, and when you're out and about you pick things up, don't you? I think all crafters are the same. I'm going to bring some of those in, and what I'm going to do before I stick them on is I'm just going to add a little purple jewel into the middle of each of the little flowers, like so. You can see how you can just add your jewels onto there. Add a few more little flowers in, I think, as well. And then I've got in my box to pop on. There we go. Pop another 3. So again, just adding a little jewel into the middle of each of the flowers, like so. Then we're going to take some 3D glue gel. We're just going to use that to blob the little flowers into place, like so. Add a little bit of glue here, so you can just work around. Sorry, I'm doing that and not showing you what I'm doing, aren't I? That's terrible. We're going to just work around and add in these little flowers. I'm thinking I'm just crafting away to myself now, you see, at home. So we're going to just continue adding these in. I'm going to put a little flower onto there. Maybe one up here, one over there. Then have I got any more? See if I've got some more in my drawers here, over there. Add another couple in. So just going to add these in around here. There. Put that one over there. Okay, so you can see how that's nicely starting to come together now and looking really pretty. What I'm then going to do is take some little self-adhesive jewels. I'm going to add these into the centres of the starbursts at the top. The flower bursts, sorry. So just add these in. And again, you can go to town and put as many bling stones on as you like, or as few. It is completely up to you. I'm kind of going to go to town a little bit on this one, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So I'm just going to add these in, because to me this background stamp is just crying out for some jewels to be added into the middle. So I'm just using the different sizes off of the sheet that I'm using, and I'm just adding these in kind of randomly onto some of the little centres, like so. And these sheets that I'm using are quite nice as well, because you've got all the different sizes on there. You can really kind of use these and layer them up. So we'll just continue working around. We'll add a few more onto here. Okay, so that's looking good there with all of our beautiful jewels on. And then to finish this off, I've got a bow that I've tied. Again, there is a tutorial for this already up on the channel, so please do have a look. And I'm just going to pop that in the top corner there. I'd normally use a little glue dot just to stick that on, but I'll use a little bit of 3D glue gel today. And probably to finish that off, what I would do is just add one of these little flowers, little sequins, just under the knot of the bow. Like so. And that would then be your beautiful finished card. So I really hope that you've enjoyed today's tutorial video. Of course, if you have, please do subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Facebook as well. It's Chloe's Creative Cards. We post daily inspiration on Instagram too. Again, it's Chloe's Creative Cards, so it's really easy to remember. And you can visit the website as well, which is chloescreativecards.co.uk. All the products that I've used in today's tutorial I've listed in the description below, so you'll be able to click on the links and have a look. But I really hope that you've enjoyed this video today.